Today I'm speaking with Philip Ryan, the president of the Mazenod Panthers All-Ability Football Club in Glen Waverley. Welcome, Phil. Could you tell us about the Mazenod Panthers All-Ability Football Club?
Right, thanks for inviting me. Mazenod Panthers All-Abilities Football Club, as the name implies, is a football club that offers people in the community, sort of from 14 plus, the opportunity to play Aussie rules in a competitive environment, very similar to what you might find in community football generally, but we're specifically focused on providing those opportunities for people that would identify with an intellectual disability.
Great. And how did you first get involved in the Panthers?
Yeah, but the backstory was that back in about 2018, the Panthers were just going through a difficult period, as football clubs can do from time to time. I became aware that there was a few issues and that the club was struggling to get the teams onto the ground for 2018 season. So I reached out to a fellow I used to go to school with, who runs the Mazenod Old Collegians, which is sort of like our brother, sister club, whatever you want to call it, and said, oh, listen, by the way, mate, I hear you've got a few issues. I suppose I use the word, I speak disability in the sense that I'm a father with a daughter with a disability. If you think you need a hand, let me know. I think before I'd hit send on the text, the phone rang, and I sort of spent the next few months just working with that specific community, working with the league, and most importantly, we got everyone on the ground for the season start. We then had an AGM. We're sort of sitting in a room. There's a group of us that had been working, I suppose, on this project to make it happen. And we were sort of looking at each other, and I sort of said, "Oh right, well, who's going to run this show going forward?" And they sort of looked at me, you know, was that, well, you stupid. So, so yeah, from that point, the last 5 or 6 years, I've had the privilege of being the president out of that, from that period.
Oh, fantastic. And what has the response from the community been to the club?
We get tremendous amount of support. So during that period, we were probably struggling in terms of player numbers. Community response, now we've sort of doubled the playing numbers, so we've now got really good numbers, which for the game of AFL can be important. Also, current context, people can just have other competing priorities some weekends in their lives, so you just need reserves, so to speak. So that's really been good from a playing perspective. From the point of view of, we've got some great support from some sponsors, sponsors who even host, season launches and things like that for us. So that's been really good, and we even just get positive responses from, first game last week, a few people walking past, looked at some of our banners, scanned the QR codes and just walked up to the canteen and said, listen, this looks really cool. Can I just donate some money now? So it was really, that sort of thing. I think they can see what's going out on the ground. You can identify that, hey, here's a group of people with a disability. Sometimes it's pretty easy to identify that. You look at them, and so that's a response. And we get great response, great help from the council whenever we need a ground or something like that. The City of Monash have been fantastic. So across the board, it's been pretty good. And
I can attest to the events being very joyful community celebrations, really, as well. The season launch was terrific, and the awards nights are always lots of fun too. How have you seen players thrive when playing footy with the club?
Yeah, the feedback. I was sort of thinking about it the other day. It's self-evident with people when they're happy. So when you sort of see our players come to training, and they are, I think we're the only footy club in the world where most of our players are there an hour beforehand. They're that excited to train. So you just sort of see that, the joy, you see the response we get from new starters. Our players are very embracing. They when somebody arrives for the first time, to just about a man and a woman, they will go and introduce themselves and make that new person feel welcome. So they are, extremely happy bunch. Get feedback. Recently we've got a player who's joined us this year whose dad was a former AFL footballer, and I was talking to him the other night, and he just said to me, I've never seen my son so happy. Since he started playing footy. He said, I've just never seen him. It's just so happy. He said, just the way the other players, the way they look after each other, just the joy that it's giving him this opportunity. So, yeah, there's a number of players. We had a player last year. We offer again, as we strive to be inclusive, we can allow for what we call a tackle-free player. So sometimes people with intellectual disabilities can come with some physical challenges. So we've set up a concept which we help drive in the beginning, where we just have a few players that we identify with some high-vis sleeves, and that just means that it's a signal to everybody that, sadly, for whatever reason, that player can't be tackled. But more importantly, they can now play footy.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise the risks would be too great. So, we've had some feedback from families that just didn't know that their children and their adult children now could have this opportunity. And one lady in particular just sort of broke down in tears when we could suddenly create an opportunity for somebody to play in this sort of tackle-free way. So, and that player, won't mention names today, but every time I see him, he's just over the moon, and the family are over the moon.
Yeah.
They've got this community. They've got this. I was talking to the mother more recently, and she said it's like a home or a second home. So that's, I think, what we see, and the benefits that we think we can give or that our players get from playing with us.
That's amazing, that inclusivity, that opportunity, the community that's built all around, just thinking of different ways for people to participate. I think it's so important that we all think about how we can be more inclusive in activities like sport.
And as you know, with the recent season launch, we've got a real focus now on, inclusion is all things. So whether, that's gender, whether that's people with disability. So we're really pushing hard now. We want to grow this opportunity. We know that women love footy. We know that women love playing footy. We expect that women with intellectual disabilities would have the same love of footy. So the season launch this year, as you know, was focused on just getting that message out there that we are open for business for men and women. We are a little bit unique in that we play in a league where men and women play together, but we can also manage some of that through the tackle-free stuff because, it could be daunting if you're a lady that's perhaps 5 foot or 5'5" and you're up against 6'5". We've got to manage that a bit, but we want to create opportunities. But ultimately too, we want to grow it to the point where we would just have men playing side by side and then women's teams as well. We're not quite there yet, but that's why we're really pushing to grow the participation of women in our game.
No, it's a really great vision, and I think really leads well into my next question, which is what's next for the Mazenod Panthers?
Yeah, I think the thing is, so we've stabilised now over a few years. We've dealt with, we've put pandemics and things behind us as well. So the next thing is certainly that growth in terms of women's participation. We're also looking at how we can grow just the general playing experience. We want to give people that come to the Panthers the same sort of opportunities that you would get playing in any community club. So last year we trialled a trip to Echuca, where we played a team up there. So again, we want to give our players an opportunity to have a trip away, which is not uncommon for sporting groups to have an end of season. In our case, we do it mid-season. So we want to sort of grow the game by taking our players and playing sort of feature games. Amazingly, when we go to the bush to play a game, we're actually the last game of the day. So the seniors will play and then we'll come out. So we kind of argue we're the match of the day, give the players that opportunity to be not a penultimate game, but you're the ultimate game. You're the last game of the day. So we want to just sort of grow that experience. Numbers, as I say, we've doubled. We need to sit down probably this summer and look at whether we would go from a 2-club to a 3-club team. The benefit of being a 2-club team is we can offer a game. So we've got grades of footy. If players that sort of play in the top grade, sort of a middle grade and a bottom grade. At the moment, we've got teams in the top grade and the bottom grade. So maybe if we could fill all 3 categories, we can be more inclusive and give everyone at all abilities, even within the intellectual disability sort of spectrum, I suppose, the opportunity to play footy. So it's a 3rd team.
Yeah,
that we would look at over the summer, but it's a step change, and we've got to think about how we do it. You can't sort of go into these things lightly.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've been very strategic every step of the way so far, so I'm looking forward to seeing where you do get to next. How can people get involved with the Panthers and support the work that you do? Yeah,
I think, we talked a little bit about community groups. We've got some great sponsors, but there's always room for more. We operate in a space where a lot of our players can struggle to pay fees and, you know, that sort of thing. So we keep the cost down by working with some great sponsors. One of the ways you could help is that most of us, maybe if you watch the footy, would be familiar with the Good for Footy raffle, where Toyota put up some prizes. And if you buy a ticket, and you know, if you just Google, I think, Good for Footy Mazenod, buy a ticket through our link, we get $5 for every $5 ticket. So that money comes to us. And again, that just helps support programs, helps support our... the other year, again, trying to provide an experience for our players, we got them into an Indigenous jumper, and it's those sorts of programs that help give our players that experience. We're always looking for volunteers, and we've got a vacancy at the moment. So yeah, if anybody out there thought, you know, I'd want to come and play a role, we're looking for some sort of a sponsorship coordinator to help pull that together for us. And probably the other thing we suffer from as well is, you know, if you're out there and you're maybe you used to umpire footy and you're thinking of doing it again, we're always looking for umpires. We're a little bit unique in that most associations, they find the umpires, but we have to find our own umpires, so we need that support as well. And there's always people, we've always got opportunities for people to come down and help coach and that sort of thing. And there's just a process you go through now with the league and with Play HQ, where you register as a volunteer, so we can just put all the compliance stuff in place before you do that, but that's pretty easy to do.
Terrific. It sounds like there are so many opportunities to get involved with the club, which is fantastic. So hopefully people in the community listening to the podcast will be able to reach out and connect and find an opportunity suitable for them. And is there anything that you want people to know about the Panthers that we haven't yet discussed?
Yeah, listen, I think you've asked some great questions, and I think we've given it a fair bit of coverage, but I think that we just suffer a bit from, you know, people will come to us and they're 20 and 25 and just don't know that the league exists. Yeah. You know, so for me, you know, the reason, you know, we always take up these opportunities to talk about the Panthers is I just want to make sure that everybody with an intellectual disability that's looking for a community group or looking for a club or loves footy knows that they have an opportunity, and also knows that we can manage the risk. Yeah. You know, if they fall into that tackle-free, you know, some people are like, oh, actually, footy's a bit rough for me, but gee, I love it. Well, let's come and have a conversation with us. Or, you know, if you're somebody that's watching this and perhaps you're not in the city of city of Monash, and you think, well, that's a little bit far from me, give me a ring anyway. I'm happy to put you in touch with other clubs in the various regions. So I think, you know, it's just broadly awareness that, hey, if you've got an ID, intellectual disability, and you want to play footy, we've got a tremendous league and space and opportunity for you to do that.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm sure awareness will only grow as the club grows of the work that you do. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.